Namaste and welcome. It's such an honor for me to be here with somebody who was a very leading journalist in the early part of his career, Dr. Satish Jha. He is here actually releasing his book, The Full Plate, which has now become one of the seminal works on education in India. Some of us might know the first work on education in India that was written by Amartya Sen, which talked about how education can actually lead to freedom and development in India. The second book we would call as a seminal work on this topic was the one written by Abhijit Banerjee, the other Nobel Prize winner, who actually went on to test out some of these models using some very unique techniques and came up with what works and what does not. And now we have come to the full plate with Dr. Satish Jha, who has now continued on those works to actually tell you where to from here. Dr. Jha has, of course, had tremendous experience in the field of education. He started one laptop per child in India, and I think it moved on into one tablet per child. And so he has had extensive experience working with organizations, non-governmental organizations, who are providing very interesting models of educations in India. And today, it is really my pleasure to have him here to talk about, I think, 4 different organizations that he has worked with, including Bharati, for which he now serves on the board for the Bharati Foundation of USA. He has also worked with Ekal Vidyalayas, which brings education to rural remote villages. He has worked with Pratham, which has worked with the government schools to do very interesting thing, and the America India Foundation. Satish, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. So tell me, what is bringing you back to, I know you travel a lot. I think you are here for a very important gala that's coming up with Bharati Foundation. Could you tell us about that?
That's true. But let me first thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. You did amazing work for Ekal, and that remains with all of us. 12th July is my Vidya Bharati's second annual gala, and the team is coming from India as well.
Yeah.
Mr. Ketan, who's basically a kind of mentor to it, he will be here with us. He comes every year for the last few years, and we invite many people. But in terms of reaching out as a gala, this is my second effort.
That's fantastic.
And that brings me here because also Akshapatra was there, another great experiment in trying to uplift, in India's future in some ways.
Absolutely.
The way it has done, it has raised the bar in whatever midday meal was doing.
Exactly.
So that's a great thing.
And I think the Bharati Gala is happening at the Burlington Marriott.
Same place, Burlington Marriott on 12th July.
12th July, and people can go onto the web to get the information about that.
Yes.
We'll put the web link here so people can do that. Absolutely, absolutely. So now tell us, I know that you are on the board of, before we get into the book, could you give us a 30-second pitch on what Bharati does specifically?
You see, Bharati is an effort to make affordable education in a way raising the bar of quality. The children who come to those schools, they do as best as they want to do. And just to give you a very simple example, I learned a few weeks ago that 5 DG of police of Indian states, they have studied Vidya Bharati. The Defense Chief of India studied Vidya Bharati.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody who was in the Prime Minister's office studied Vidya Bharati. So Vidya Bharati has been able to provide to about now almost 3.5 million children every year. Began in 1952 with one school, and now has 14,000 schools. Almost 200 schools every year. And they do a complete school. Their schools are full-fledged schools in the sense they have, every class has a classroom. There are prayer halls, there are laboratories, it's a full-fledged school just like any other fully equipped government or private school.
Yeah.
But they come with a mission. They are more passionate. Their teachers do not have high turnover. It's very low turnover institution, and their salary may be limited, but they live there for a lifetime, and they engage with parents of children. So I think it basically differentiates itself by culturally connecting with every child. which other schools may not do.
May or may not. Exactly. And this is what I think motivated you, at least thinking about the organizations. I have worked with Ekal Vidyalaya as well. So it looks like education in India, the government does a great job. There are private institutions, but the non-governmental institutions, especially that are reaching out to some of the most needy children in the country, are very key to making a difference. So now I would love to hear from you. Why did you call this book The Full Plate? It's such a beautiful title. So,
when I look at education, most people get bits and pieces. Just like if I want to have a meal, when I have no money, I only get chapati.
Yeah.
When sometimes, people live on only chawal. But if you really want talking about a meal, then you want rice, you want dal, you want chapati, you want sabji, you want whatever makes it more palatable. That's what normal middle class meal is.
Yes.
Right? But as soon as you start looking at the lower income, you find that something keeps disappearing from there. But I always talk in terms of there is a critical, we can say, mass, and there is a point of inflection when things begin to change. For instance, water boils at 100 degrees. You can't boil at 99. So what is 100 degrees of learning? And so I said, well, let's look around. That if children get their full plate, means everything you require for learning environment, a learning ecosystem. A complete learning ecosystem is a full plate from my point of view. Most technology facilitators in education in India, what they've done is they've given a hardware here, a software there, and it just doesn't come together. So unless you create a complete ecosystem, it doesn't become productive enough to take children's capabilities to the next stage. Until then, little bits and pieces here and there, but effectively, you can see the result. Result is in India's 79 years evolution. 1947, China, Korea, and India. That's a good example to have. They developed differently, but their per capita income was about the same $50 range in 1947. China was at 45, 46, India at 52, Korea at 55. And today we are 2,500, China is 15,000, Korea is 40,000. What happened? Primarily it's education. So Korea chose a full plate model. China moved in the direction of a strategy, and we were the most free market oriented. There was freedom for everyone to do something or not do something.
Yeah.
So that's where the full plate comes in. It's a complete ecosystem.
So in your book here, am I right in assuming that you're actually comparing the different models that are there? And so first we shall start with, what do you think has worked well in India? I mean, there have been some very good successes, I would say. And so in your research and in your estimation, both from the non-governmental sector perspective, governmental and private, what would you think are good models that have worked well, and at least you see some development in India, and what has contributed to that?
I think in terms of what education does to us, there are many actors at play here. Family is a huge thing. Number one. Number two, school system and the value system society comes into play. For instance, same education system will work in a certain way in one country, will give different result in another country. Like for instance, when I look at the government experiments, in government, Kendriya Vidyalaya was a very, very good experiment. Children who go there, they become capable of meeting the challenges of anyone, anywhere.
I'm a Kendriya Vidyalaya.
Similarly, if you look at Navodaya Vidyalaya, it picks up children from much more economically disadvantaged people and puts them in boarding schools. So the cost at Navodaya is about 100,000 rupees per child per year. Cost at Kendriya is about 50,000 per child per year. But the cost of all other government schools is about 6,000 rupees. So what happens is the children who go to other government schools, they end up being, somewhere a peon, somewhere a constable. Even constable is a bigger achievement for them. While those who go to schools like Vidya Bharati, they can aspire for the entire gamut of possibilities. Because it's offering something which is closer to Kendriya Vidyalaya, but it's not as well endowed as Kendriya Vidyalaya, which meets all those expectations through passion. So at the same time, it prepares you still mostly for taking government job or small businesses. It doesn't make you good for corporate sector yet. So because it's addressing people, when I look at it, people whose incomes are below about say $5,000, per annum on an average. Most of them are in that segment. Anyone who earns more than that, they go to private schools. Do private schools give better education? No. But they create an environment where there's a greater engagement, greater excitement. And they apparently have more English, and the English biased people go to private schools. Vidya Bharati has local language, mother tongue, Hindi, and others. So that's one issue. But the quality of students, think of this way: Vidya Bharati educates 1.23% children of India.
Right.
3.5 billion.
Yeah.
But every board, about half of the top 10, they're from Vidya Bharati.
Interesting.
While private schools, the affluent ones, they go to international baccalaureate, they go to CBSE curriculum, they look at Cambridge curriculum. But normal people, I went to the normal state board, for instance.
Fantastic.
So I mean, Kendriya Vidyalayas was a big upgrade for me. Would have been a big upgrade for me, but because of movement, etc., some reason things worked out. But my point is, whatever opportunities I had, every Indian can have.
That's very interesting that you're saying that they can have.
Yes.
And that's where I think maybe that's a little bit of the expansion of what you've written, because I think you brought up one very important point, right? Indian parents are very aspirational for their children, and the family values and ethics of hard work, focus on education, value for education. I think we have Saraswati, the goddess, we have a goddess dedicated to learning and education. So where is that, how is the future of India going to fill that gap? And question is technology going to be playing a role there?
You see, think of the cell phone.
Yeah.
In 1985, I was an editor. So there used to be an annual meeting of editors, or 20 of us from national editors.
Yeah.
And the whole cabinet will come and give a kind of presentation for about 3 days or 4 days.
Right.
And they will, so I remember the conversation about telecom. And telecom, at that time we had, 1985, 50,000 rupees per line was the cost of India, and India couldn't have had for 60 crore people, we were there, that's 600 billion people, until 2100. They couldn't have had that. But then technology changed, gave cell phone. In 1995, November, India started cell phone. By 2001, almost every adult had a phone. So that can be done to education as well. Today, education has a few. Access is necessary, without nothing happens. But access without quality education doesn't do anything.
Beautiful.
As of today, quality education, by quality I mean there's something which allows you to be creative, innovative. That is still missing in the Indian segment. But someone who can become as good as the next guy, that framework exists for for the top 2, 3, 4% people. There are schools like American School of Mumbai. They charge something like $30,000 a year in India. Duna School charges $20,000 a year. There are many schools. There are about 100 schools which are in $15,000 to $35,000 range. We are not talking about them.
Yes.
I don't have interest because they can take care of themselves. Next year still is basically above those. People can't afford that, which is about, say, $5,000 above fees. People can't afford that. How do you afford it $2,000? Education that allows you to become as good as anywhere else in American public school system or whatever.
Right.
That is what I try to look at. I think Vidya Bharati is achieving in about, I would say, less than $1,000 a quality of education that allows students to be topper on the boards.
Wow.
Now, if you double it, they don't have technology. If you make it 2,000, they will be as good as anywhere.
Wonderful.
So this gap, if you don't bridge it, the gap is basically their income levels today. If they're going to be in annual $3,000, you bridge the gap, it will be $10,000.
Fantastic.
If India has to think in terms of what the Prime Minister says, we have to move into the 10 trillion and whatever, etc. Without this, nothing will happen. Without it, will remain basically aspirational. And I mean, if you look at it, India's percentage of world GDP was in 1947 to around 2%.
Right.
Even today it's around 2%.
Right.
And despite the fact our population has gone up, the highest 4 times. And we are a much larger proportion of the world population today than we were in 47. But what's happened is, because we did not invest in education, we have left 90+% of Indians below their capability. I used to always start when I was running one laptop per child. Every child is born potentially an Einstein or a Gandhi or a Marx or Da Vinci. But we as parents and society want them to become like us.
Exactly.
So this, like, instead of like us, and also parents, when they think of children, what they think of, what they know.
Yeah.
And they, for instance, every child at one time, every parent wanted the children to be IAS officers.
Yeah.
That has disappeared.
Interesting.
Even IAS officers don't want their children
To be IS. That's good. That's good.
And I'm speaking from experience and having spoken to many of them. They don't want their children to be IAS officers.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
That is called progress. That's called development.
Yeah. But you mentioned two things, right, when I heard you. One was that the quality of education, or you evaluated in terms of income. That was one thing you talked about. And that's where you said that, a school like Bharati, if it could have double, the cost, if you could put that into it, the children's income can go from $3,000 to $10,000. But the second, and I think almost more important part you mentioned, is that the Indian education system, whether it's private or public, is not focusing enough on encouraging that creativity and innovation, which is actually allowing a child to attain its potential. So are these two different goals? And how would we bridge each one of these goals?
Just think of it this way. In 80 years of Vidya's freedom, I don't find a single work in science, technology, or fiction, or art, or culture, which the world says we have excelled at. We think we have done fine.
Yeah.
We like to be proud of everything that we have done.
Yeah.
But the world doesn't say India produced something which the world is using today. My point is, external referencing is a key to any progress.
Okay.
Or I can't judge myself. If I'm a student, I can't grade myself. Right now, India is grading itself. That's a big problem. That's one. Second, innovation happens at the apex of learning.
Okay.
It doesn't happen at every place. Now, there can be some geniuses like Ramanujan.
Yes.
I mean, but what did Hardy say? You're not a mathematician because whatever you say, you can't go through all the steps you've taken to reach the conclusion. You see the conclusion, but you can't go through the process. Now, what he saw, 100 people did PhD on that, but he couldn't do PhD on his subject.
Right.
So now the point is, Ramanujan is one of the nature's rarest, creation. But I'm talking about how can I learn the way everybody learns and yet be at the cutting edge of learning, so that I'm ready for, if I see something new happening, there's new possibility, can I find an answer for the new situation? That is not happening to us, except when people join, say, American or European situations, and they start responding to new things, then something happens. We can only create at the frontiers of our experiences. Our experiences are at a different level. So, for instance, there was a professor of innovation somewhere in some institute of management. He talked about a person who was trying to wade through water and he uses some tire, etc. Innovation. But that's survival. If you're going to call survival innovation, then where will innovation happen?
Good point. But I'm assuming that in your book, you have suggestions on how to change or what people can do, whether it's non-governmental, governmental or others, on how do you make that change so that quickly, because time is, the essence. How can we make a dramatic difference to create those students that the world will say, aha, they are impressive.
So I talk about a cell phone of education.
Okay.
How do you create a cell phone of education? So I talked about one laptop per child, one tablet per child. I'll give experience.
Yes.
I gave in several schools every child a tablet, which came from our own foundation, our own family resources, because nobody else was willing to. So effectively, Ambawadi became the first school in India where every child and every teacher had a tablet of their own.
Ambawadi, where was this?
Jaipur.
Oh, fantastic.
And then there were 27 other schools in Rajasthan, we reached to various levels of it. I'll give you an example. Teachers, in the beginning, they were excited. Children wanted only that. But teachers were not feeling very comfortable because they didn't know how to teach with it. Now, if I create a whole team, my expenses go so high that they become larger than the budget of the school. For its budget, the school was less than 1 crore rupees. I invested 5 crore rupees in school. But what happened in the end, parents said, children will start seeing something they shouldn't see. And teachers, they felt it was a burden on them. After 3 years experiment, children from that school topped American examinations. People saw that. Children voted for it. And everybody is sitting there but society is not ready for it. So I said, well, fine, let's have smart classrooms where now a teacher has control over the
Content,
delivery. And that's what India is ready for. So I think even if you push things, there's a point when India will be, or any society will be ready for. As of now, I think if we just take care of, it's not just smart classes. I'll give you an example. ICT at school. India started a program.
Yeah.
They said 25 computers to each school.
Right.
Computers came, they were locked in the room. And principal felt, if I use it, they'll go bad, so I'll have a responsibility. It will never open. I went to schools, I got it open. They were opened and there I went. 2 weeks later when I went again, they were back. So effectively, we didn't create an environment for that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to give one piece here, one piece there, it's not going to be really very useful.
Yeah.
So the challenge is, so that's what I talked about. We did some experiments and we looked at the minimum budget to give quality education to India at a level that they can start competing in 15 years with the best in the world for entire population. Requires $2,000 today per annum. At $2,000, water starts boiling.
$2,000 per annum per child. Okay.
Then the water starts boiling.
Okay.
Below that, water doesn't boil.
That's the full plate kind of thing. Okay.
Second, you create a school where you're helping children learn at the frontiers of your aspirations, not parents' aspirations, not teachers. Once a retired chief secretary came to talk to me. He said, I want to talk to you for education for my granddaughter. So when he came, I said, let's sit down. It's not something I can talk about while walking and talking. During a walk, he said that. Then he came and he said, I said, so what does your granddaughter do? She just got admission in Stanford. I said, it's okay. How long will it take her to complete her master's? 5 years. Let me ask you, did you know in 1980, when will PC come to the world? He didn't have an idea. I said, did you know in 1993, when will cell phone come to the world? I said, you did not know what will happen the next year. How will you know what will happen 5 years later?
And this challenge is even bigger with AI here.
That's right. So I said, 5 years later, you don't know what will happen. But a child is closer to the future. Let them see that. They will sense it. They will feel it. They will come to that point.
That's beautiful. So, of course, investment is one thing you're talking about. And what is this money? What are you suggesting people do with that money? Is it to create the better environment for the teaching? Is that the biggest challenge you're saying, that the mindset has to be altered? Or it is actually resources that are needed in the schools?
You see, this policy making is very complex business.
Yes.
And we never learned how to create policy for the poor. We know how to create policy for the rich, but not for the poor. Because at the rich level, people experience that they know
what it is.
It's a felt, something they feel. For the poor, they don't even know how to feel. So that's one big problem. So for instance, they said, okay, if we raise the salary of teachers, so then they will be more motivated. Salary teachers were raised. Now they decided instead of teaching, they started subcontracting.
I hear that.
So no matter what policy change was brought by the government,
nothing,
because it was a knee-jerk reaction. It was not a full plate. It was just a spoon here and something there. It did not go anywhere. So that's why I look at India as an economy of 70 million people, instead of 1,400 million people, which is 1/20th, which is the equivalent of most European countries. That's what a GDP reflects, and that's what a society is all about. But we can't leave 95% people with similar potential. I can assure you that every child I meet reminds me that this child has greater potential than I had. And that child will not have that opportunity just because his environment is different. And what is happening is nation is leaving that money on the table by not attending to them. So it's not only we don't give the child a future, we basically deprive the nation of a future as well.
Exactly. And considering we have most of humanity, the big, large population in India.
We talk about demographic dividend.
Exactly. We are missing out on the universe itself in some sense, in the world itself.
We're turning that to demographic disaster.
Exactly. So are you suggesting, now you're on the board of Vidya Bharati, are you making significant changes to the way Vidya Bharati is doing things? That, I know that you're fundraising for them. Are there specific things that they are doing? Policy, of course, is, something. I'm sure you have suggestions for policy here.
Yes.
Maybe I will ask you that first, actually. What is the one or two things that the government should be doing so that I'm sure there are many thoughts here, but what are the most number 3, 1, 2, 3 things that they should be doing which they are not right now?
Look, actually, the best things are done when we know how to simplify the metrics.
Okay.
Now, for instance, when 2006, Government of India asked me to create something which will ensure that payment to the last worker reaches in a way that nobody can take it away from them. So I said, it's very simple, I can do that in 3 months' time. And when I gave the process, they said it looks too simple to be possible. And then 3 years later, it became, something began as Aadhaar and so on and so forth, which had its own journey. But the fact is, I said, there's a simple test. The simple test is, do I remember my identification number? In Aadhaar, even the creator of Aadhaar doesn't know his own. Right? You know your mobile number.
Right.
So mobile number is interesting because we know our mobile number.
Yeah.
In America, people social security number.
Yeah.
People know their SSN is designed that way. We could have that, and that was my identity number was that everybody would have known their identity number. They could have said or spoken. Similarly, in the case of education, I said, look, education has to be accessible to a child within a kilometer. You make it. Same thing I said in 85 about telephone. And now it's happening. Now, I don't know when it will happen, but we have to, every child within a kilometer must have access to education. Right? Now, if you have to have high school 5 kilometers, then you make sure that the child is handled by the society to pick up from home and take in there. Don't leave it to them. We turn this into not as our responsibility, but as something people will do. Now that
makes sense.
See, if you look at it, there are 10 recommendations one can make. First is water boils at 100. You've been boiling at 30 degrees for too long. So stop doing that. Raise the temperature. So critical mass is $2,000 per. And can India afford it? India can afford it today. India says 250 to 60 billion children.
Yeah.
If you give 2,000, it's kind of, even if it is $250 billion or $300 billion a year, today India can afford that money.
Beautiful.
We can do that 10 years back. Today we can do that.
Right.
But we are not doing it. Instead, we are more interested in showing that how we are doing 6% of. I said 6% doesn't matter. So what matters is what reaches the child.
Okay.
They're busy with macro.
Okay. So the metrics. Okay. The metrics is very important. Okay.
Metrics is important. The critical, the inflection point is important. Critical mass is important. So points of inflection. You have to understand when things change.
Okay.
Always bring. Otherwise, everything you invest is wasted. If it doesn't. So, for instance, you have consumed energy, say, of $100. But you needed to consume energy of $110 to succeed. But this 100 is wasted.
Exactly.
It's zero.
Exactly.
That's what the challenge with India is, to understand that unless you bring it to a certain level, whatever we're doing is not going to give us anything. It's almost a waste.
Interesting. So you have actually probably outlined that in greater detail here. So have you presented it to people in the policy making bodies in the government, and have what has been the reception?
I've been talking to 30 years, and my approach has been anybody who takes up a job in the government becomes a clerk. No, clerk, what is a clerk? Clerk is basically keep account of things. They do not have the capacity to change things. And Mr. Bajpayee invited me in Planning Commission in 1998, and I said, I don't want to join because you're trying to guide me. I'll go there and I'm definitely going to fail. And you say, I'll say things, you will stop me. It won't be good for anyone. I didn't join anything in government. I was Mr. K.C. Pant, Energy Advisory Board, Jairam Ramesh and I both joined in the same rank, OST, Joint Secretary level, whatever it was. People who were rank conscious, they would have liked it. But I couldn't be there 3 days. I left in 3 days. Mr. Gandhi got me to be advisor in the rank of secretary in new energy sources. I couldn't be there more than 2 days either because I'm not designed to be inside the government.
Right.
But conversations I can have. And my point is that all that I've learned from them is once they are enjoying the government privileges as a job, that becomes more important than what they do.
Yeah.
So that's social, and there's not a critique of them.
No.
It's just that let's acknowledge.
It's a different
this is what
process.
happens to us.
Exactly.
If I was there, I wouldn't do anything different either.
So what's the hope then? How do we make the change?
The hope comes from political leadership. It's never the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy can do what the political leadership says.
See.
But when the leadership wakes up, India is today because Gandhiji thought what India is today because Nehru made some changes. Some changes were made by Indira Gandhi. What we have seen in the past 10, 15 years, they are more of a packaging. They are not changing things at the fundamental level. They're not extending your muscle, but they're making you look better without actually making you be as good as you look. So that's a big challenge.
But then, I mean, the challenge is there, but I'm assuming that you have been talking to political leadership and seeing things, and hopefully the change is going to come.
Vidya Bharati leadership has accepted. In fact, in one of the national meetings, they said, we have already done the access story.
Yes.
Now we should go to quality story. And the leader said that let's go along the path Satish Jha asking us to go.
Wow.
But from there to the bottom, it's a big journey. Because there are layers and layers and layers of thinking.
Yeah.
How do you change that?
Right.
Despite that, my experiments did not go anywhere. They could see the result. Results were great.
Right.
But if the teachers and parents also don't feel good about it,
Right.
it won't go anywhere. So when it's a government does it, it's a different story.
Okay.
When you do a non-governmental, then you have to really carry everybody along. That's a bigger job.
Right.
So I think everybody, that's why I'm saying each one of them, Vidya Bharati, Ekal, Pratham, AIF, they all began the story of how to improve things.
Right.
And they've contributed their own way.
Yeah.
But why Vidya Bharati succeeded full-fledged ways? Because it offered a full plate.
Full plate. I understand.
Others contributed in do better here, better there, better there.
Yeah.
And which has its own positive
Yes,
impact, whatever it is.
Of course.
But if you want a larger impact, Vidya Bharati did manage to do that.
You felt that. So you're hoping that people will take this book, read it both in the government and around the world, I think. So to see how they can influence anybody that they can influence, and hopefully the government, the political leadership will also take a look at it and understand the importance of doing this, so that really their development goals are there. It will be aligned with. Is that your purpose to write the book? Maybe
It's basically part of a conversation.
Yes.
If the conversation becomes positive,
Yes.
I think something will come out of it.
Beautiful. So, in the United States, what message, or why should people buy the book in the United States? They are not part of the government in any way. So, but what do you hope they'll get out of this?
I think they can get something out of it in terms of how to, the schools which are not performing at the level they want, how can we help them see differently? And that, given the experiments we have talked about, I think they give them direction. There's no magic pill for that.
Of course.
So we have to all see in our own context, and obviously agency has to be given to people who are closest to the situation of a child, of a school, etc.
Right. That's beautiful. So how can people buy this book? Because it sounds so fascinating.
Well, Amazon is a nice way to have it.
Okay.
Best thing is have Kindle edition, is the cheaper edition as
Of
well.
course.
But if you want, you can go to Amazon.
Absolutely. This is really fantastic. And of course, if they come to the Vidya Bharati Gala, they can meet you in person and hopefully get a signature from...
Yes, and I brought quite a few books for them.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you. And the Vidya Bharati Gala is on
12th of July
at the
2026, Burlington Marriott. At 5 o'clock.
At 5 o'clock. So if you want to meet Satish in person and maybe, engage in a deeper way in the conversations around education in India, because I think all of us value that the most. And that's why so many non-governmental organizations have come out of the United States, where we have tried our best.
Right.
Like I remember at Ekal, one of the focus was to do this access. That was and again, getting into places where there was no education at all, and so many aspects of different things are being tracked upon. But for those who are interested to do the full plate, come to the Vidya Bharati Gala and also meet Satish Ji and engage with the Vidya Bharati team to understand what can we do better so that India is really moving towards its potential. I think if every child moves towards its potential, India will move to its potential, and I think the world will be a better place for it, I think.
I think if you could clone you and enthusiasm, a million people, yeah, would be a different place.
And you, Satish Ji, and you, I think. And I love the fact that you mentioned the values of Indians around education, around the family values, all of this that we have, which is great. And perhaps early, in Indian education systems, those were pushed more. And that's probably why we have, we didn't just become who we are just like that. And I think, I don't know, do you have a comment on that while we are at it? Because we did discover some great things in the history of India, if you look at it, right?
My point is that once I went to Greece,
yeah.
And my driver was a very elegant man. He looked like almost a diplomat from my point.
Okay.
And he spent a few days with me. Finally asked him, so what is it about your country you love the most?
Yeah.
He says, our learning tradition.
Yeah.
I said, what about that? Pythagoras. I said, let me ask you, so what do you think you're best at? Physics. I said, Nobel laureate. Oh, that's political. So then I said, listen, who gives the Nobel Prize? Scandinavians. Who gets the Nobel Prize? They don't get it. So how can it be political? So I said, how many people have got Nobel Prize in Greece? And he couldn't remember. I said, only one. He was a literary person. And more recently, 125 years, one Greek for literature, not science. What does it say to you? So from there you take it back. India, any society which was proud of its past doesn't see a future. So the first thing is to stop being proud of the past, acknowledge the past. Remember the past, but don't be proud of it.
Absolutely.
Pride in past means you have no future. So abandon. By the way, this book,
yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
The forward man who has been the government himself, Amitabh Kant.
Oh!
Amitabh Kant wrote a beautiful forward. He's also my classmate. And then who wrote somebody from other side, the current government doesn't quite think well of him, Sam Pitroda.
Oh.
So he's second guy. And then the former education secretaries of India, they all wrote here why this book is important. So, at least there is recognition. In fact, former education secretary wrote to me, this is so incisive and evocative at the same time. I said, you were saying that? So in other words, yes. Conversation has begun.
Yeah.
But someone, as political leadership capability has taken forward.
Yeah.
I have my limitations.
Of
I can only write a book.
You're not the Education Secretary of India, nor are you the Prime Minister of India.
No, I want to be.
Oh, yes. But
I
that's
won't succeed in that way.
We don't know about that. But I was just going to say, that means it's, across the political lines.
That's right.
People are finding this valuable. Yes. And actually, I think that's one thing about India, politicians may come and go, but systems are in place, and everybody has tried to do their little best. People may not agree on what is good or what is not, but I think people are sincere and trying to do their best. And I'm glad you got people from across the political spectrum to look at it and validate what you have done. So thank you, Satish, for your work, for all that you're doing with Vidya Bharati to make a difference, and all the other organizations that you have been part of, guiding, and really hope that this book will spur some conversations that can make a dramatic difference to India. Thank you so much.
Thank you for finding me while I keep losing myself.
The great Lord will do that. So thank you and namaste.